Everybody, welcome. It's turning out to be a really sunny day. I came outside, Sean, and it was cold, and now the sun's coming out. So you know what that means, don't you?
It means I'm going to be outside. What?
It means I'm going to be outside raking leaves. I think that's what it means for me. So we have Sean Henry, President, CEO of the Nashville Predators. Woo! Let's go, Preds. Sean, we usually talk for a couple minutes, and then we'll start just in like a couple minutes. While people are tuning in, what is that thing behind you to your right? It's a man with it looks like it's got a proper mask on for COVID, and it's wearing a Predators jersey, and I can't tell, is that a Predators blanket? That's what I can't tell, or a jacket.
That's a blazer, baby. Come on now.
So is it a Predators blazer? Is that what it is?
Well, Predators themed, yeah. So our house is decorated basically in Predator auction gear.
Got it. Okay.
So everything in the house, I think we have gotten from some type of an auction, charity auction around town. And that is Jack Daniels, signed by the whole team in 2012, maybe 13, that we've taken some liberties to make him even look better. So a great Tennessee, a great brand.
It looks all very cool. Most of the people I invite on the show usually invite me over to their house, and then just so I can see all the neat items. But obviously you haven't done that yet. So
yeah, no, you're right. You're always invited, man.
Well, thank you. All right, so let's. I see blue lights in the behind that, and that looks like a guitar next to the Predators man. Yeah, what is that?
So this is
wow,
an autographed guitar for everyone that sang the anthem in 2017 on our run to the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Okay, very cool.
Prize I got from some of my friends, and then we got a pool table behind me that, of course, is a Predator pool table and Predator lights up top. Again, literally everything in my basement's Predators.
Well, so it's 10:03. We're going to start, but I have one thing before I even start asking the regular questions. Oh, I lost you for a minute. Are you showing us around?
Backstage pass wall.
Yeah.
For all the concerts I've worked since being in Nashville. And I don't know, a lot of good things. We should do a tour. We should do a Schulman tour of the house.
I would love that, and we'll come by and we'll just look at all the wonderful things you have on your wall. And then you come over to my house, and I'll show you everything that is in boxes because my wife won't let me put it up. So I saw yesterday or the day before that the Predators are having another, I don't think it's an auction, you can buy used equipment. And I looked on that, and it's nameplates, and it's there's like some hockey sticks and some other stuff. But that's all game equipment that you're just trying to get rid of. Is that right?
Well, yeah, twofold. The guys are really generous, and they all get a lot of sticks throughout the year. Normally what guys will do is go back to their hometown, give them to their family, friends, whomever. Yeah. Our guys always leave them with us, and then what we'll do is sell them for fractions of what those sticks cost. And then obviously our foundation benefits from it. So it's a win-win throughout. With all my kids, we have 4 kids, they've all played hockey or play hockey. A stick, and it's insane. It's like bats for baseball, costs between $175 and $350, where these sticks are all used by our guys, and some are brand new actually. We're selling them for $90 to $150 depending on them. So it's a way to save a few dollars. Hockey equipment's expensive. This is us shaking out the closet one last time. We did a big one in the summer as well. But it's a great way to get, skates and guards and pads. Right now, it's really down to some fun things, the locker nameplates and sticks, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So if people want to do it, they go on to, where do they find it? Predators Foundation? Is that where they should go look for it?
Yeah, just go to our website and it'll link you over from there, or just follow us on Twitter, and there's a live link. It's easy to click through. So, Preds NHL. Go over and make sure you send me nasty notes if someone bought the item that you wanted. Or we got 3 of those today. Maybe wait for this call sighting. So, Jim from Franklin, I apologize that the Shea Weber stick you wanted was gone 2 years ago, but tune in. It's still fun.
I got it. All right. Well, welcome everybody. We're a little bit later than we usually start, But we have Sean Henry here today, President and CEO of the Nashville Preds. Sean, we usually start with just some updated news. It appears we have 310 new cases of COVID, 7 additional deaths. And I watched the news this morning. We're having some record numbers across the country, so everybody be very, very safe.
Staggering, is it? Past 7 days, over 100,000 each day, and what we have yesterday, 80.
It's amazing. I think if you're watching the 7-day average number, it's just at an all-time high. Yeah. And obviously, we're getting ready to go into the Thanksgiving holiday and the holiday season. We should be worried. We've got to be careful.
But we do control it, and that's the amazing thing. The fact that people are letting this thing get politicized, which is so silly, is ludicrous to me. I mean, we're seeing the spike from Halloween. We're going to see a bigger spike from Thanksgiving. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I know.
Let's go.
Well, people just need to be really, really careful. Well, so usually the first question I ask on these things is, tell me about yourself. Tell me who you are, where you're from, and did you play hockey as a child?
So I grew up on Long Island, youngest of 6, big family. Dad was a carpenter. Mom stayed at home somehow to raise us all. And like any kid that grew up in the 70s, 80s, we played everything. It was just, you kind of followed the sun. The way we've designed our hockey leagues represent that. We want kids playing hockey and volleyball and basketball and football and baseball. So growing up, played everything. Really focused on soccer and lacrosse later in school. But played hockey when the ponds froze. Playing hockey in rinks was just not an option for us growing up. It was just too expensive. We just didn't have those means. And that's why so much of what we're doing with the Ford Ice Centers really is trying to pay that forward to make sure that other kids can play despite the cost. So that's what we try to do. But went to school in New York, state school, University of New York, and then moved around. The company I started with when I was 15 years old, it was a food and beverage company. I didn't even realize they serviced sports teams around the country. I was there just to save money to pay for my college. And I worked full time for that company all through college. They offered me a job to stay on after I graduated. I was very dedicated in my studies. I took 5 years because I really enjoyed the education. And
you were on the 3-year program that took 5 years.
Exactly, yeah. And they don't call me a doctor. But I was very fortunate because they transferred me to Detroit, the brand new home of the Detroit Pistons, right after they won their 2nd championship. Met my wife in Detroit. She was working with the Pistons as well. And from there, we moved to St. Louis with that company and then telecommuted to DC with that company. So I was with them for about 15 years, from I was 14 years old till 29. And then we started an HD TV broadcast company with the Pistons as one of the main financial backers. I was always really close with the leadership there and the owners. And it was awesome. It was one of the best things I ever did. I didn't even know how to spell HDTV when we started that company, let alone, sell it. But we did. We did a lot of really cool things, fun things. And then we also went bankrupt, which was not a lot of fun, but it's an amazing thing to walk through. Right around that time, though, the Pistons bought the Lightning and asked me to run the business operations of it. And it was just a great 10-year, 11-year run. Worked for the best owner in sports, and we won the Stanley Cup and the NBA championship and WNBA championship and the Arena Football championship all the same year. The NBA and NHL, we did so 7 days apart. So he was really a special man, redefined what our industry was. And unfortunately, he passed away. We sold everything for his family. And that's when I got a very odd call from Tom Segrin to come to Nashville. And I was so excited about it. I came here a lot for games, came here a lot for business in the early years, watched the stadium and arena get built. And I was so excited about it because obviously you had pretty dynamic leadership with the team, but then also throughout the city and the state, things were happening. And that was in 2010. My oldest son was a freshman in high school. So we had 2 first days of freshman year, which is a sadistic thing to do to a child. But as you know,
does he still speak to you? Does he still talk to you?
Yeah, we're fortunate. He went to Belmont, so he stayed close. And now he works downtown and he coaches his old high school hockey team. So, yeah, I don't know why he does, because I wouldn't, Then my younger son is junior at Louisville. And then my daughter's at Franklin High School. My other daughter is in 8th grade. So that's us.
Tell me, what is it like to be president of the Preds? I mean, it's like, it's one of those jobs, Sean, I'll tell you, it's like, what a great thing. I mean, it's like, how do people get into these positions? That's why it was so interesting to listen to how you kind of worked your way up.
You know
But
what? It is a great position. And, I say that, and I mean it. Like, I love my job, and I think everyone should, right? Life's better when you do. But if you have to work, and most of us have to, it's really cool if you get to be around something that you love. And, sports just, courses through my veins. Big sports family, love sports growing up. Grew up, unfortunately, a Ranger fan on Long Island when the Islanders were winning Stanley Cup after Stanley Cup after Stanley Cup. So I grew up abused as a hockey fan. But to be sitting in, an NHL office, one of the coolest things in the world. It really, really is. And the past 20 years of my life, I've worked directly for a team, and it's been great. Prior to that, I worked with a lot of different teams as a subcontractor, which was pretty neat too. I got to see some of the best and some of the worst teams that were out there. But it's just so much fun. I mean, there are days I always tell people, just don't walk by the Arena Bowl. When you're walking to your office, don't just go to the office. Pop in there and sit in there, eat your lunch in there, hang out, like feel, what we are. Because if you lose how much fun it is, there's something wrong with you. I mean, there really, really is. And I remember the first time I got thrown out of the Palace of Auburn Hills in Detroit. I was sitting in the Arena Bowl, eating my lunch. It was dark, no lights were on. And security came out and said, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Well," I tell them who I am. I think I'm a big deal. I'm 22 years old. He said, "Well, you're not allowed to be in here." And I remember the CEO of the team just happened to be walking by. And he said, "What are you doing in there? You're not allowed in there." So what's going to happen with me sitting on the seats? I mean, those seats are designed to have someone sit in them. Plus, it's cool.
Yeah.
I said, "What do you mean it's cool?" So I reinforced. I said, "Tom, that is the greatest thing in the world. I mean, I grew up a sports fan. Here I can have my lunch sitting in a basketball arena." 2 weeks later, he had me speak to the entire staff. And I was below the low of the low on the rung of the ladder of that organization. And he asked me to tell them all why I thought it was cool sitting in there. And from that point forward, we used to turn the lights on and encourage people to eat their lunch, in the Arena Bowl, because you should be reminded of the special thing, not take it for granted. So long answer to your question, I was warned not to do that, but it's really cool to do what I do. Whether we're doing a concert or a game, after a long day, you're tired, you're beaten down, city council beat you up for something, vice mayor's calling you, harassing you. But at 5:30, 6 o'clock, you kick those doors open and you have 10, 15, 20,000 people waiting to get in with this energy level.
Yeah.
And you get to do it every day.
So tell me, like on a given day, and pick a game during the season. On a given day, what do you do? Do you? I mean, besides coming in and walking around and sitting in the arena and eating your lunch, and then waiting for 5:30 to come when the doors open, what is your typical day like?
So I try not to have a lot of meetings, and if anyone that works with me is hearing this, are probably laughing and rolling their eyes right now. But we have a few standard meetings a week. A sales market meeting, a leadership meeting, an executive meeting, a creative meeting, which is the most fun one, and that's just different people from all over the organization. That's about all I have. Is about 4 meetings a week as a standard.
Yeah.
And then, I serve on a few different boards, so you have different things pop in and out of that. But I like to pop in and out of other people's meetings because people should do their job. People should be free to make mistakes, make decisions, push things forward. That doesn't always happen if you're in every room. And then normally David Poyle and I will talk. The funny thing is David Poyle and I don't have one standing meeting. We probably talk 6 or 7 times a day, maybe even more than that. During COVID, a lot more than that, which is odd, being we're not together. Bounce a lot of ideas off each other, talk about what's going on, what could be next, what direction are we going in. And then really just stay out of people's way. On a game day, changes a little bit. We'll normally have people pop in for morning skate, foundation things, or the visiting team. A lot of times I'll meet with the visiting team to bounce ideas and share things and common practices off of. But one thing I don't do is I never, ever watch morning skate. Every time I do, without exception, we have lost, and I am fairly superstitious, so I never do that. Like, I'll stay on the concourse and meet people, let them go in the Arena Bowl, but I just won't do it. But then I'll normally meet with David Poyle for a few minutes after morning skate and before lunchtime. And then, 2, 3 o'clock, there are a lot of media opportunities to pop in and out of, promote whatever we're doing. So it's pretty loose on game days for me. The other is, it doesn't matter if it's a regular season game in October or game 7 of the conference finals. I'm exactly the same way. My attention span on a game day is that of a gnat. You know, I don't focus very well. And it's funny, Michelle Kennedy, who's our COO, will laugh if someone asks me something important on a game day. She'll be like, why are you even asking him that? He can't think or focus. And it's a little unfair, but there's some truth to it.
So, so you do watch the games, I assume.
Oh yeah, no, the games. I'm fortunate. My family loves coming to the games, which I think is really important in what you do. There are a lot of people in my position who treat the games like arduous work, and it is. You work. There are things to do. You're always running around. But when the game starts, I just sit in my seats. I sit with my family for the most part. We normally have a couple of stray kids from one of their schools with us, and I never miss a minute of a game. I think it's important for a lot of reasons. Besides my main job, is
Yeah.
the team. But away from that, what's our entertainment like? What's our interaction like? Is everything safe? Is everything the way it's supposed to be? Intermissions, I'll normally visit our own suite immediately and then hit maybe 2 other suites to say hello to someone or pop into the press media lounge, walk around during intermissions, really burning off energy, nervous energy. If we're winning 3-0 or losing 3-0, it doesn't change. I do have one ritual. If we're losing, I do go and visit, another suite some friends own, and we have a ritual that always turns it around. So.
All right, I'm not even going to ask you what it is. I'm just going to. I know I've seen you at the games, and I've seen some of your superstitions, and it's fine.
I have a big superstition on peanut M&Ms, as you know, right?
As I know, I have. Are you looking for the peanut M&Ms? There they are. Yes, yes. I have seen you with those. I've seen you getting candy. Yes, I have.
We had to restock because the summer, the bubble hockey, we were at home. I'm never at home for a game, a home game. So we had to recreate a concession stand in our house to make sure we had peanut M&Ms, and we must have did it wrong because we didn't play as many games as we should have.
Well, I don't know what happened with that, but let's turn to that because that's pretty much everybody wants to know. When are the Preds coming back? What is the I love the idea of, you sort of the teams kind of recreated the bubble, I guess, in Canada, and it was. I'll tell you the one disappointment I've had with the Preds, besides losing the Stanley Cup in Game 6 to the Penguins, but it was it's so much. There's so much fun to watch and so much fun to be a part. And I think I would say that, at least for me personally, it's been it's such a part of Nashville. Who knew hockey, Nashville? But I think it was the disappointment was that we didn't do better this year in the playoffs. Because it was like, okay, we have got something we can root for, and it just didn't happen, and that happens. But what is going to happen this year?
You want to see pictures of my kids and make fun of them too? You're bringing up all the ugly, moments of my life right now. I'm waiting for my mother to come in and show you my report card from 5th grade. Oh my God.
Yeah, if you have that, let me know. Well, okay, so now that I've gotten all the bad stuff out of so tell me good stuff. When are they coming back? When can we get behind them and help them push through?
Yeah, so we don't have a date set. The one thing that the reason we were successful this summer as a league in launching the playoffs and getting all the games in and celebrating the award of the Stanley Cup to the wrong team. Right. I wish we won that last game we played, but we never put a date on it. It was, we got to figure this out. The format is somewhat fluid. If you remember back in April, May, June, we were having countless calls a day, and I'm doing that right now with the league and our member teams of when and how. And going into it, will we have 31 teams in the playoffs? Will we have 24, 16, 8, 4? Who knew? Are we going to be in bubbles? Are we going to be 9 bubbles, 1 bubble, 2? And we're doing the same thing, now. But, Gary Bettman, our commissioner, probably back in July or August said, the goal is to play in December. And then around the draft, the beginning of October, he said, well, the reason we didn't pick exact dates, with things sliding the way they are, we're going to start in January, and that's where we sit right now, that we'll be playing hockey in January. Some more details, I think, will continue to get honed and worked on. We had a long Board of Governors call, which basically every team has 2 or 3 Board of Governors. We get on the call. And just discuss and talk and kick things around. Thursdays was longer than usual. It was a couple hours, which is always good. But around those meetings, we, the Preds, are on the committee of reopening. What does the building look like? What do buildings look like? What are we all going to try to do? If you can have 5% of your fans or 100% of your fans or no fans, what does that look like? And we're walking through all that right now. We're very fortunate. As our Board of Health is an incredible department. They come and meet with you and listen to what you want to do, listen to what you're thinking, and then literally will say, these are really good. Would you consider this, this, and this, and this? And it is this dynamic. I don't even know how they have the time to do what they're doing with all the businesses right now, but their goal is to help us reopen in a very safe fashion. We had a great meeting with them yesterday for a couple of hours, walked them through every idea that we've had, if this, then this. And, so we're considering everything right now. And you could read a lot of articles online. Do we open in our own arenas? Do we open in bubbles? And I'm not going to comment on either because I don't want to get fined. But everything's being considered to make sure that we can play a meaningful season and then have a great playoff run again. And that's what the goal is. So, but there's so much in flux. Like we just said, the past 7 days has probably had everyone look at every business, not just ours, a little bit differently.
Right.
I hate to be in your position, yours or the mayor's or the governor's or really any elected official, because there's such a balance of, how do we manage reopening? How do we stay safe? How do we do schools? I'm selling hot dogs and popcorn and a couple of tickets. So our role in that's, somewhat limited. At the same time, we take our job pretty seriously in the fact that we can pick up a community. Like you said, let's get behind something. Let's cheer for something. I was sick this summer when we didn't move on for the obvious reasons of being a fan, for the obvious reasons of our own P&L, for the obvious reasons of all those things. But one of the main things was it just stopped, and it felt so good for those 5 games, for everyone being behind it. So we do have that ability to pull communities together. It was really tough for us after the tornadoes because, we had 4 games after the tornadoes in March to raise awareness and money and help people and just do what we normally do. And then obviously when the pause happened, it got harder to continue to help.
Right.
I do think us returning to play is just good for the community. I mean, you look at the Titans and the wrong thing happened Thursday night, but it was fun to have a home game on prime time and see people, celebrating the game.
Well, and I think, personally, I watched the games this summer because it gave us something. Didn't last that long. Didn't last as long as we wanted to, but it was fun to do it. It was fun to be a part of it. And I was thinking about it. So let me go back and ask you something that I've always wanted to ask you. So when we had that run in the Stanley Cup, I assume it was your brilliant idea to bring in those different people that signed your guitar. Go ahead and take credit for it if it was.
You know what? All good decisions have many fathers. The failures are always orphans. So I'll take ownership of all the failures. We have a really good team that when we say we want to change how things are done, and we started that really with the All-Star game. In the league, and we agreed to do the All-Star game, and we're all excited about it. We said, we're going to do it on one condition. We're going to change the way it's celebrated. We're going to get outside. We're going to bring 100,000 people in to celebrate it. And they kind of rolled their eyes and said, okay, cute little Nashville is going to do it better than any other city, right? And we're like, well, yes, that is what we're going to do. And what did we do? We changed the way the All-Star game is celebrated. Mm-hmm. We made it an event for the entire city, and not just hockey fans, and not just for the 17,000 people that will be inside. And our playoffs, we've always done the same thing with. You always want to make it a little bit more fun. And if you can't be in the building for whatever reason, you can still swing by the plaza and join a big old party, or smash up a car, or pop into your watering hole in anywhere throughout the state. Each round you go, it gets a little bit easier to get people behind that. But when we started putting up stages and working with Butch Beard and the CVC of saying we could do more, right? I love this city because everyone always says yes. There are very few no people. And again, I go back to so many of your departments. I know you've heard me say this before. There is no greater department in our city than Public Works. I've worked in a lot of different cities, and normally the Public Works guy that runs it is always a no guy. Mm-hmm. And what I've always loved, I've been here 10 years, not only have they never said no to anything we want to do, they'll say, why don't we do more? And it's just so cool. Because without them and that spirit, you can't do the All-Star game and the outdoor activities we did
Yeah.
around the 2017 Cup. And you want people talking about it. And the funny thing is after that, Vegas spent a few weeks with us after our run. Winnipeg came in, spent a few weeks with us. Out of the 150 major sports teams in our country, probably 80 have sat in our conference room to figure out what we do and why we do it that way. And I always laugh because it starts and ends with one thing. We connect with our fans, and our fans really decide what we do and how we do it. We put out a funny video yesterday of us getting rid of the pedal tavern or the Predel tavern that we did at the start of this year that was met not very kindly. I mean, the funny thing is I was looking at Twitter this morning getting ready for, Java with Jim, and people were calling me out, calling me the dumbest man on the planet for bringing in that godforsaken pedal tavern. Not all ideas are good, but at least we do listen to our fans. And
well,
we sold it back.
I mean, and I know we've got people listening, and we'll have people will join on or watch this thing. I experienced, when I went down during the Stanley Cup run, I'd never seen anything ever like it.
No one in sports ever did. I mean, that's the amazing thing. You never saw that before.
I couldn't even. I mean, it was mind-boggling when you went down, and Fifth Avenue was Broadway and around Fifth, completely packed, and then people lining up with chairs to watch the games, and it was like, this is amazing that this is going on. And I've gone to many sports arenas in my life, baseball games, everything else. I never experienced anything quite like it. And so maybe go back to that. You talked about your group, but I've never experienced, and I know that the Preds have won awards for this. It's so fan related. It's just amazing. So tell us, how do you all come up with this stuff to make it work?
Well, first, we do love those awards, but they don't mean a whole lot. It's nice for the staff, but brag on ourselves a little bit. We were named the #1 sports team in the world, the #1 run sports team in the world. Some has to do with competition, but it's more about what you've created. We win Arena of the year in and year out. And I think for the past 10 years, we've been nominated all 10 years and have won it 6 or 7 times. And those are good reinforcements of what you do. But what it really allows me to do, at least in those fun meetings we have, is you hold those up, right? Like, isn't this great? And then I always drop it and say, it doesn't matter. What do we do now to build on it? And when you have 300 people that truly are committed to making each event better than the last one, that's a good thing. And when I first got here, we had, it was the last Brooks and Dunn concert they were doing. It was September 2010. Great show. And the next day, everyone was celebrating. It was a great show, sold out, great way for them to end. I said, that's great, but what could we have done better? And I'll never forget a guy that's not with us anymore looked at me like I was the dumbest schmuck in the world and said, what do you mean better? You can't do anything better than that. And I said, well, then why do we pay you? Because if we can look at something and not figure out one thing that could have been better. I mean, there was someone that didn't have a great experience. There was someone that for whatever reason, we failed them. What can we do better? Now you have 300 people asking that question on every single thing. So I joked about the equipment sale earlier, but when I saw that comment from the one gentleman, right away, I sent it to 2 or 3 people that already had 3 or 4 other people send it to them and say, hey, what are we doing here? We got to fix this. You have people that are comfortable making other people uncomfortable, but it's coming from the right place. So when you have an accountant weighing in on your marketing initiatives and a marketing executive talking about what we're doing from a sales standpoint, and a sales executive talking about, how we're air conditioning the building, it's a good thing. But that takes a while. It takes trust. And the most fun meeting we have is the idea meeting. We used to call it the revenue meeting because it was to drive revenue. And then we realized it's better to have an idea meeting that you're looking 10 years down the road and 10 hours down the road all at the same time. I always describe people, innovation and ideas are almost like teaching your daughter or son to drive. It's hard for them to look past the steering wheel. But once they do start looking out, they see everything more clearly, especially if things right in front of them. So that's what that meeting is. It's every other week. And it's just it's an honest meeting of what we tried and failed. And hey, why didn't that work? And what I like about our failures I didn't do this. It's everyone taking ownership, as opposed to in a lot of places when something fails, it's, well, he didn't do this. That person did a lot of finger pointing. And we don't have that. So it's nice. And it really is, when someone says, who came up with this great idea? It's not false modesty. It's who knows? Because we always say, we've never once said no to an idea. That's not an exaggeration. In my career, I've never said no. But you have to explain what your idea is and why. What's the goal of your idea? And normally it's the goal that's pure. And what your actually original idea was, barely is recognizable by the time we implement it. But we do chase that goal and everyone jumps on board. It's not acceptable in our organization for someone not to be nodding this way when someone's speaking. We've all been in the same room when people are just doing this as the person is talking, and you just watch the air go out of them. So it's just a fun place to be. We built something pretty neat, and each year we get to have more success with it. And the best part is when we connect with the community, and it really is.
Well, so I actually gave you an idea that you did not accept, I think, right away. I remember it was, the song Walking in Memphis by Mark Cohen, I think. In the middle of the song, it talks about catfish. And I said, we'll change Memphis to Nashville and play that song Catfish. And you said, I got enough trouble trying to keep catfish off the ice. So I assume that idea never went anywhere.
Well, it always goes places. We do celebrate our catfish. Off of your idea, we put a catfish tank in.
Thank you. I knew that was the result of that. Tell me, what's the connection? How does the connection between the Preds and the Bridgestone Arena? So obviously there's concerts going on. I know there's a big rehearsal hall down in there. How does that all work together? What's your all's connection working together?
Well, so the Preds own the building for all practical purposes. I mean, it's city owned or Sports Authority owned on city land, but we have the leasehold rights, so we manage it, good or bad. And it's funny, I never knew anything different. I grew up in New York where the Rangers and Knicks and Madison Square Garden were one. I thought that's the way the world was as a kid. Moved to Detroit, they were the first team to really build their own building and operate it as if it didn't matter if it was Rod Stewart, the circus, or a Piston game. It was all the same event, and everyone was dedicated to bring it to life. And again, I said earlier, I worked with a few different teams, and the successful ones have that philosophy. The least successful ones have the other. And when I got to Tampa, and honestly, when I got here, there were a lot of separations where, when I got here, there were people that you always hear the term powers management. That's our legal entity that manages the building. But there was a guy that used to run this building that didn't know he worked for the Predators. That's not an exaggeration. I congratulated him when he got the job 20 years ago about, wow, the Preds are a great organization. Congratulations. He said, oh, I don't work for the Preds. I work for Powers Management. I say, hey, Donkey, the Preds own Powers Management. He said, no, I don't think so. 2 years later, he called me to let me know I was right. I mean, that's how separate things were. And the results were spoke for themselves. We were the 45th busiest building in the country year in and year out. Everyone was okay with that because we were the 45th biggest city in America. So that's where we should be. The Preds would sell out 1 or 2 games a year, maybe. It was okay to draft really well, train the guys, make them all-stars, and then trade them and, make the playoffs, and that's fine. When Tom Segrin became chairman, I love what he said, fine's not good enough. It's just not. We should be a leader. We could be the best in what we do, the best in class. And that's why I came here. When I heard him describe that, I was not leaving Tampa. I loved living on the beach. I loved coaching all my kids' sports. I was consulting for a few different teams at the time. Life was pretty good. And there's no way in the world I was moving from that. And I wasn't going to make my son restart his freshman year. Right. And then I met Tom Segrin and the rest of the ownership group. And it was like, oh my gosh, I can't get here fast enough because they were committed to changing what we were doing and how we were doing it. So when we first got here, we just knocked down a lot of silos. And you built up people that bought in. And the people that didn't buy in, you tried to convince them. And then you tried to show them it might not be the best place for them because we are going to run this as one. And the busier the building is, the better it is for the team. The better the team performs and sells out, it's easier to sell out more concerts. They really go hand in hand because you think about it, every single game night, we get to do a commercial for upcoming concerts to 17,000 people. Every concert that's sold out, you get to do a commercial for future concerts and for games. And now we sit as one of the busiest buildings in the world year in and year out, one of the 5 busiest buildings in the country year in and year out. And we've sold out every game for the past, I don't even know how many years, 5, 6, 7 years. And that's how it should be. I mean, it really, really should. And again, the teams that don't do that well, where they look at their arena or stadium as a separate entity, always normally don't have a very well run stadium or arena. and they can never figure out why they can't get that second concert or, get into the main tour that's going on. And the answer is simple. You run it. I always call it a goat building. People get offended when you say that in our industry. But if you don't have a good time when you walk in the building from a tour standpoint or from a visiting team standpoint, well, what are the odds that tour is coming back? And what are the odds that free agent is going to sign with you when it comes time? You want to make it where a guy comes out. And Matthew Shane talked about this last summer. He'd come into this town and there was concerts breaking out, in the crowd, and crowd was on their feet before anything happened. He said, this is where I wanted to play. So it all goes hand in hand.
Well, and maybe that's a good question. First of all, I'll say every time I walk into the arena, and I don't go to a lot of concerts, but I go to the Preds games, the people taking the tickets are nice. I mean, it's like everybody's just so friendly. When you go through security and you're just getting through the regular, just getting into the facility, everybody's really nice. And I don't know whether you were down there telling them to be nice, but everybody's just very nice. It makes it fun.
Better.
Yeah.
One thing about being nice is you can't preach that. You have to live it personally. So I think it goes a long way. When you go to our games, you'll end up seeing 30, 40, 50 different executives walking around, not to check on things and correct people, but to encourage it and have fun with it and interact. And when you're listening to your fans every single time they come in the building, casual conversations, you get to hear what's wrong without someone complaining, if that makes sense. But then also your frontline staff, who are really the heroes of what we do, when they see you investing in that annoyance, when they say, hey, there's a leak in 105 every time it rains and it gets fixed, it makes them feel a little bit better. When it just keeps leaking and then they have to say to the poor guy, yeah, I don't know, I told them. There's nothing worse than feeling helpless. And, so we try to listen to our staff as much as our guests and encourage them to come up with a lot of fun ideas. And, fun is good. And it really, really is. When someone said something to me once, said, well, you don't act very serious. I said, well, thank goodness. I hope I never do, because you can be serious without acting that serious. You really can. But I laugh when I go to stadiums and arenas around the country, and I'll meet with, whomever is running it. And you don't see any other full-time staff around. And he's always talking about how busy he is and how, it just stinks. We're like, you work for a baseball team. Life is good for you, right? It just is. Go enjoy it. Because if you think it's a problem because you have 35,000 people in the building, then you might want to go do your resume. But you see, like in every industry, the people that are normally happy and enjoy being busy are successful. And the people that, are, a guy that runs the restaurant that's upset because there's, every table's full and, oh my gosh, and you run around crazy and they don't have time to talk to anyone. Yeah. Well, that's a great manager, and the restaurant's not going to be crowded for long. So.
Well, so we got about 20 minutes left, and now we start throwing really the hard questions.
All
right, here they go. Well, so
what about Jack Daniels?
Well, he can answer if he wants back there. So, so the first question is, I've always wondered about this. Whatever happens in our arena, from everything from, the music that's played after we score to, getting on the goalie to, I know the Catfish has been kind of, they used to throw octopus on the at Detroit. Do other stadiums, do other hockey teams have the same type of vibe that's going on within the game?
No, but you're seeing a change, and I think that's a good thing. It used to be people would call us non-traditional as an insult. Mm-hmm. I've always embraced it. When I got to Tampa, we introduced a few fun things. And some people are like, well, no one likes that. I'm like, really? We have 6,000 people at the game. Okay, I'm really worried about the 15,000 empty seats. Right. So why don't we do something that makes it a little bit more fun? And, obviously I think we've always done it bigger and better here because it's such a passionate city for live events. What we needed to do was kind of unchain that a little bit and let people express themselves, come up with their ideas, and have fun. But you see it now. Vegas, they'll be the first ones to say they copied our game experience, period. And I love when they talk about it. They believe they do it better, but they're wrong, really, really wrong. It's neat. But Winnipeg fundamentally changed what they did and how they did it. after, coming to our playoff games. They were here for the conference finals and they were here for the Stanley Cup because they didn't understand what was going on. And I love the fact that they put a lot of time and effort in allowing their fans to have more fun. A small thing though, some of the traditional markets are boring. I mean, truly, you mentioned Detroit. I lived there, so I can say it. You go to a sporting event there, it might be the most boring thing in the world, and you're there only to watch the game, which that's why we tune in. I mean, I'm not foolish, but if you're watching a great game and your kids are laughing and smiling a little bit more and they're up dancing, life is a little bit better on the way home. I mean, it really is. And they want to go the next time. So you see more people copying it. I think, you look at two of the most traditional markets in Montreal and Toronto. If you have a chance, go to a game up there because they have really evolved, what they do. And it's fun. I mean, it really, really is. And then you go to other markets, I won't call them all out because they're my friends-ish. And you sit there and think, this is the most boring time I've ever had in my life. When I go to our away games, I get there early, and I'm always shocked some buildings don't open the doors till an hour before the game, and then they're 5 minutes late, and they'll tell me, we don't open doors 2 hours early because no one ever shows up. I'm like, yeah, you know why? Because you open doors 5 minutes after you said they were going to be open and it's raining outside. So you're just encouraging that guy to come a half hour later, and all of a sudden they're walking in the middle of the first period. But then I walk around the building just to see how employees are interacting with fans. What are fans doing? Is there any activity or life on the plaza? Small little things go a long way. Putting in a Jersey roller coaster that lights up, or having Puckett's put up a one-man stage on Saturday games. I mean, it's like everything. You got to change things up to have some fun. So you see it a little bit more and more markets. And it's always a compliment you do. I love when people compare themselves to us. Because I always say the moment they do that, they just lost anyway. Like the moment, if we're, you always hear people say, well, you could have a Cadillac budget or a Chevy budget. Well, I want the Cadillac, right?
Yeah.
We are Cadillac, from the gold standard as we call ourselves. So.
Well, I assume, yeah. My guess was that people are watching us and going, let's be more like them.
Now, okay. There are a couple of team executives though will come in and be like, I can't believe you do this. I can't. And they get all like stuffy. They're wearing a 9-piece suit, an ascot, cufflinks. Like my counterparts in some markets walk around with security. And I always tell them, I don't need security because we don't do anything bad. Like, why do you need security? And they're the ones lecturing me about, I can't believe you play music. I'm like, shut up, schmuck.
So Crazy Carl, where did he come from?
Crazy Kyle is.
I'm sorry, Crazy Kyle. I'm sorry.
That's all right. He does music for a bunch of schools, a couple of churches, but we used to have him hidden above the press box in a room you couldn't even see. Like, first of all, he has a personality that never ends. And if you have an organ, let's get it out in the bowl and let him become more of what he is. And it's just been fun because he loves the game and he loves the crowd. He loves fans being around him. So it's neat.
It's good. Okay. Next hard question. Tell me what's going on with Pekka.
He's expecting.
Look, it's like Prince. It's like Madonna. I mean, he's got one name. Everybody just refers to him as Pekka.
He's the face of our franchise. I mean, he is. Yeah. And as great as he's been, since the day he took the starting mantle, what he's done off the ice is even better than what he's done on the ice. I think he's second or third in the league and for active goalies and wins. He's the all-time leading Finnish goalie with wins, and that's saying a lot. I mean, there have been some incredible Finnish goalies, and he and Saros are the best goalie tandem in the league, and it's just so much fun watching them work together. They're so close. Saros lived with Pekka for a long time. They're both Finns, and Pekka looks out for every single teammate, and just the same way he does in the community. He does so much off the ice. It's incredible. I mean, he and Chase, the 365 fund, and the one constant about Pekka is he's always there for someone else. And I'm just excited for him because he's having his first baby in a few weeks. And, as joyful as he is in all things, he's about to enter the best phase of his life. And I can't wait to get back on the ice, with he and Saros, leading our goalie charge. Because as you see, more and more teams have two dynamic goalies, that you can use. So it's, when we erect our first statue, I assume when we retire our first jersey, you never say never, but I would be shocked if the first jersey you don't see hanging from rafters isn't number 35. And, a really cool statue at some point too, ideally with a 33-pound silver trophy between his blocker and his glove hand.
So have you gotten to hold the Stanley Cup? Have you ever touched it? Oh, you there? Oh, no.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, you're not allowed to say that. Is that it?
My name's on the Stanley Cup.
What?
My name's on the Stanley Cup.
Oh, your name is on the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
oh, because of your work. I didn't know that. I've never seen it, so I never got a chance to read it.
We won the Cup in 2004 in Tampa. Uh-oh, did I lose you?
I know, but I only speak for what have you got the cup in your house? Uh-oh.
Well, here is the dasher wall, the bench wall when we won in 2004, and above it is the engravings.
It's a little dizzy, but it looks like the Tampa Bay Lightning 2003-04. And where is your name? Is your name on there?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. Oh, I see it right there. Sean Henry.
Yeah, the best part about that is,
how many goals did you score that year?
Man, I did not score one, but my name's on the cup. And then here.
Oh. So they gave you a cup. You have a cup in your house.
Yep, a small one. When your name's on the cup, you get this beautiful Tiffany replica of it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty neat. The day with the cup was an awesome day, but it's going to be a lot better here in Nashville. No doubt about that.
Well, I mean, that's Tampa Bay. I mean, I'm not congratulations on that for you, but I'm more interested in here. I did see the cup that time, but I just didn't get access to it. And I tried, they wouldn't let me. So Pekka's coming back. Soros is coming back. What can you tell us? I know that I guess for people who may be joining in late, we're hoping to start back in January. We're not sure how many people are going to be let back in at that point. We're watching the numbers, season ticket holders. Everybody's just going to have to wait to see kind of what happens in January. We're not sure about that. But assuming we start sometime, January, February, all the other stuff, what's the team going to look like this year? It's, from your perspective, we got some exceptional talent, but then I also know we traded some stuff away. What do you think we're going to be like this year?
I said this at the beginning of last year. Last year, we started the season with the best team we've ever had assembled. I mean, it was that simple on paper. The problem is, you don't drop paper at center ice. You drop the puck. And I'm excited about what we have, come back. You look at our star power, our blue line got better. Our third D pair now you could see them being the first defensive pair out on a penalty kill, which is really important because then that, frees up some tiring minutes, for the other four guys to do what they do. So improving that was huge for us. We've always been a crease out team, but, then you look at our scoring power, and it's funny, I was all over Adam Binion the other day, one of our writers, for saying something about, our lack of scoring. There's not one team in the NHL that has more 30-goal scorers than the Nashville Predators. No one's aware of that. Like, I'm always over our PR guys. Like, what the heck? How come no one knows this? Now, what we need, though, is for those same guys to do what they can do, this year on a very consistent basis. I love what Arvie said when we returned to the ice, for the postseason. He talked about his own year and, what he thought about it. And when you hear a guy like that talking about what he could have done or should have done or what he will do, and then he had a really good, 5 games against Arizona as well, it's exciting to see what he'll do when he comes back. It'll be exciting to see, Matt Duchene after being settled in with the guys a little bit more, what happens in the second year. It'll be fun to see the Jofa line, if they stay together as a line, jump in. But then the second part of it was when you change out 9, 10, 11 guys, maybe to get a little bit harder on the ice. I'm not talking about fighting. I'm just talking about, every shift is a little bit harder for the other team. You want the other team to know that they're coming in and playing against a team where nothing's going to be easy. That permeates through the top 4 lines. We have an opportunity for, the guys that we've all read about quite a bit, our younger guys, to step into the lineup this year. Which, by chasing trading away draft picks and bringing in short-term rentals in, March, like we've done, the past few years, it doesn't give those younger guys an ability to step in. So we have that. And then we do have cap room still right now. There are a lot of guys that aren't signed yet. There are a lot of teams that are in their own cap problems. We were pretty scientific of what we did and why we reserved what we had. If there was an opportunity to get even better, we'll do that. But I'm excited about this team. This is an incredibly talented team. I'm really excited about what we did on the blue line. I'm really excited about a little bit younger in some key positions, to get us a little bit faster. I mean, the theme of the playoffs the past few years is just speed, 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 and balanced scoring. So it'll be nice to see our third and fourth line, doing a little bit more. So I can't wait.
Well, neither can the rest of us. We're ready to go. Okay, a few more questions, and then we'll be finished. This has been really, really interesting. So probably the toughest question you may not be able to answer is, obviously there's a story about the Raptors playing down here. Can you tell us anything about that right now?
Well,
this is Toronto Raptors.
But I think that half the world has been talking about it. So what I'll share is I've been talking to the Raptors now for probably 2 months. Their goal is to stay in Toronto. Obviously, that's what, where y'all want to be in your hometown. If that's not possible, they have to figure out what city to play in. Our city lays out so well. So does Tampa. If I had to guess between a city, it would be here or Tampa, from just the way, the walkability of both, right? The campuses, if you will, the arena, convention center, hotels, cool places to be. Their weather, it's hard to beat their weather, for us in January, February, March. And if you're asking guys to relocate for a short window, that's going to factor in pretty heavily. At the same time, you look at the Northeast, if they relocate to one of those buildings, a team could fly into New York in theory. And if they were going to play in New Jersey, play the Knicks, the Nets, and the Raptors. And, with trying to limit travel, I assume the NBA is going to try to do that. Could be attractive. But I know we'd be a great city for them, and they know that too. It'd be really cool to have all the prehistoric animals under one roof, right? We'll have a Predator or something. But they're weighing their options, and their real key is to try to stay in Toronto first and foremost. And I hope they can, because if they can stay in Toronto, it means things are trending in the right way for all of us. So as much as we want them, I'm cheering on Toronto more so than even Nashville. But if they choose to go somewhere else, I sure hope, they make the right decision.
All right. So we had a question about Barry Trotz, here for such a long time. It seemed like such a wonderful person. And I know coaches change, obviously. What can you tell us about Barry? And I'm not even sure what he's doing now. I think he left the Capitals, didn't he?
He's the Islander. So he won the Cup in Washington, decided to leave. And an hour after he left, I think he signed with the Islanders. And you look what he's done with them. I mean, he's an incredible coach, period. And, him leaving us doesn't diminish that at all. But even like Barry said, sometimes a change is needed. But I love Barry Trotz. You look at so many of the things we're known for today, they have his fingerprints on them. Some of the charities that he brought to life. A lot of people don't know this, but Best Buddies of Tennessee, he's the one that got them their charter. He launched that whole program throughout the state. But there are so many examples like that. Barry gets so ingrained in the community that he's in, and he's here quite a bit still when he comes in. And but he is a special guy, and one of my best friends in the industry runs the business for the Capitals, and it was fun going to Washington a few times to spend time with him and Barry, knowing how they would connect. But Barry did a lot for me personally and professionally, obviously. So we miss him a lot. John Hines and Barry have a lot of similarities in the fact that, they really get to know their players really, really well. That's important, as you're trying to get the most out of guys, but they also get settled in a community and, this is home, and how do you make the community even better? So it's great to see Barry do well. When he won that cup, I felt like all of our fans won a little bit too. I mean, I wish he did it here with us, but if we can't win, it's always good to see Barry Trotz win because he's such a good guy and you want to cheer him on.
All right, last two questions, and these came in. One was, if you could change one thing about the game itself, what would you change?
You know what? I've never been asked that before. Okay. I hate intermission. I wish we play 60 minutes straight. I know it's not feasible. I love our overtime in the playoffs, but I also love the shootout. I know the shootout, a lot of people knock. I don't know what I would change, but I know what I would keep going. I like that we look at our game and constantly review what we can change. Um, and we don't do so to tear it down. We do so to, make it a little bit better. I the one thing I would change is our blue line review on
Yeah.
all sides. We concentrate on the skates. Is the skate on the ice and not on the ice? I remember when football changed the rule of breaking the line for a touchdown. The plane. Maybe if I had to pick one rule, it would be changing the blue line to a plane as opposed to staying on the ice surface. If that happens, we would have won the cup in 2017.
Yes, I know. I understand why you said that. Okay, last question. The most important question of the day. Can you explain icing to all of us, since nobody can ever figure it out? I know most people have it, but I've been going to games for years, and it's like, I think that's icing, but I have no idea.
All right, I'm going to re-answer my other question. I wish we called our rules what the violation was. So you look at football, most complicated rules in the world are in football, period.
Yeah.
But they literally call their violations exactly what they are. Holding. Okay, if you don't know what holding is after we say holding, there's something wrong with you, right? Illegal motion. If you don't know what that is, there's something wrong with you. Pass interference. Their rules are almost dummy proof, right? It's just, you beat up the quarterback too hard. Personal foul, face mask. Ours are icing. What we should call it is too many lines.
Yeah.
So if we're call it the 50-yard line, if you will, or center ice. Obviously, if you're behind that and you throw it into the other zone, past the blue line, and they get it before your team does, it's icing and comes down all the way and you take a face off in your own defensive zone. But again, we should call it too many lines, right? It's all the other baseball and football. Those rules are complicated. There's not one human on the planet, and I know this because we lost the Little League World Series because the ump called it wrong when I was coaching my son. Is the infield fly rule? No one knows how to call it and when to call it. No umpire knows. In major leagues, they don't know. So that's a confusing rule. We don't have confusing rules. We really don't.
Well, that would be probably my only suggestion is that for the fans, before every game, there's a little thing up there that says this. We're going to show you a little video using Nash to say this is what icing is.
We used to do rules of the game, if you remember. It was in our program, and then we do those cute videos with Terry Chris, Pete Weber, and Nash. And some of our fans didn't like it because they thought we were talking down to them, that as if they didn't know hockey. And it gave some fodder to the visiting team in the playoffs when we beat them in 2011 or 12. And in our program, it had, high stick, hook, all the pantomimes of the ref. And their media kind of blew us up, and our fans rightfully so got offended because we have a rich hockey tradition. So, but
I'm going to go back and study this. Okay. This is my goal before the first game of the season. Is
too many lines, man. Don't let it cross two lines.
I just run across two lines, and I'm going to study it. And by that first game, I'm going to know what it is.
Now, the confusing part, we added no touch icing this year or 3 years ago. So it used to
be. Is that because of COVID? No touch icing?
That's pretty good. Now, 30 guys would recklessly pursue the puck because if the offensive team touched it first, then it was icing. If our guy got to it first, you'd have this, race, and they'd both be going so hard into the boards, it was causing some injuries. So now the defensive zone, the defensive player gets down there below the circles, they'll call icing. Okay.
Well, that just adds one more thing to my study. I'm gonna dedicate my entire winter to trying to figure this stuff out. They're talking about Hockey 101, the first year. So maybe I just need to go back and review that. I may be able to go buy a book.
We'll do the Hockey 101s, though. I mean, we still do those for newer fans. We do a new fan orientation, and they're fun, and they really are. So,
well, Sean, you've been great. This has been really interesting. Thank you for talking to us. We really, for the last couple of times we've been in all these political discussions, and you get tired, and again, I would say, at least personally, I think the Preds are just great. They have been such a tremendous asset to the city. They're so much fun to watch, and I really hope the best for you and the Predators and the whole organization. And I hope they get a start very, very soon.
Well, you and me both, but Jim, I just want to say thank you to you, for what you do and how you do your job. You're everywhere. It was funny. We ran into each other to meet the police Canada or police chief Canada.
Mm-hmm.
It was just nice to see you, but it reminded me that you really are everywhere. And at a time where people probably had some election fatigue in our city, for a few years, you've kind of been that constant force there. So, thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for connecting with the community. And seriously, always having a smile and something somewhat witty to say whenever I see you, because you're a guy that I use as an example of you can be very serious and do serious things without always being serious. So I really appreciate how you carry yourself and how much you love the city. So thank you.
Thank you. Everybody, we'll be on next week. We're always working on a surprise guest. We don't know who it will be at this point, but stay tuned. We'll let you know. And everybody be safe, particularly right now. Always be safe, but a lot of stuff going on out there. Be very, very safe. Sean, have a great weekend. Go outside. It's a beautiful day out there.
Yeah, I have a lot of chores to do now, man. You delayed me, but only delayed it.
All right. Sounds good. Everybody have a good rest of the weekend. Bye.